Every day, people like you and me witness paranormal activity. Many people suffer alone, afraid of telling their stories. Their encounters remain locked away, like skeletons tapping lightly on a closet door. Join me, Blake Lewis, as we peel back the veil of our reality, searching through silence. Good evening, children of the night. I am joined today, now and forever, as always, with my lovely co-host, Alicia Jones.
Hello.
How are you, madam?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fucking ready. How about that one?
I'm so ready.
Now, if everybody remembers, we were talking about how we were going to harp on the Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Ooh.
So, we did our homework, like everyone else out there should have done. And now, it's time to talk about it, madam.
It's time. You ready?
Let's talk about it. What was it about the Exorcism of Emily Rose did you like the most in the movie, or how the movie was done?
Ooh, what did I like the most? I think what I liked about it is the whole courtroom and the whole trial itself, on top of the exorcism. I mean, it just felt so real, and I know it is a true story, but because of it, you know in the back of your head that was actually going on, and it was a big deal for the world.
Whether or not it was some form of a medical condition,
right,
or if it was a spiritual battle, it was still something that you as a person can have happen to you, depending on certain circumstances that you're put into in your life.
Exactly.
And I think that heightens the whole fright factor of that movie, because people are so afraid of losing control of themselves.
Yeah. There was just so much suspense in it that it made you, like, hungry to see what the next scene is going to be. You know?
Yeah. I love how, again, I brought this up on the last podcast about how they, like, Quentin Tarantino'd that shit.
Yeah.
They show you right out of the gate, she's dead. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
She died? How'd she die? Oh, you want to know?
You gotta watch.
Here we go. And then you go through the whole scenario. That's when they drag you into the court scenes with the father that was being prosecuted for being blamed for her murder.
Yeah, the fact that they tell the story through the courtroom is just so unique, you know?
I love all of the scenes that it shows that they are constantly waking up at 3 a.m. Because it shows that the demons are now attached to that court hearing.
Right.
And that they were attacking the people who were trying to bring
the situation to light.
Well, the paranormal situation to light. They didn't want it to be known that they were capable of controlling a human. Or at least that's how they put it off. Like, it was a spiritual battle. So they're all waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and unforeseen things are happening where certain individuals are dying or getting scared to the point where they were being visited by demons at night, and they wanted to pull back for fear of losing their lives.
Yeah.
Like that one motherfucker who literally...
He killed himself, didn't he?
Well,
Wasn't that the Reverend's medical examiner?
Yeah. And he ended up, after he gives her the evidence to further substantiate the exorcism, he ends up seeing the entity.
Oh, yeah.
And then he backs up
into the
all
car.
Scared, and then gets run over by a fucking speeding car.
Man, imagine how she felt, like, seeing that and knowing that not only is he dead, but she also just lost a really important person on her side to tell the story of the exorcism, you know?
Yeah, so now she couldn't even take him and put him on the bench.
Yeah.
But I love the actress who played Emily Rose. Like, she was a great actress.
She did great.
She scared the shit out of me.
Especially the whole barn scene. Dude, that was such a good performance. The whole, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, bro.
Yeah, she's counting how many entities are inside of her.
That was so crazy.
And the guy's all, tell me your name, demon. The bitch was like, names. Ooh, like she was pissed because she's like, yo, there are fucking 6 of us in here.
Right?
Get it right. She starts railing them all off, and then the last one, and I am fucking Lucifer, the devil in the flesh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that shit.
That made me cold.
And how she tips her head back. Flesh. I was like, oh, no. The horses, that was me. I was like, I'm out. I kicked the fucking door. I was like, see ya, bitch. I'm running through the storm.
Man, but like, you gotta give the father so much credit for that. And just like sticking by her. Even seeing how she is. Being possessed, I mean, is something that is very terrifying. And they made that clear with the other characters in there, that they just couldn't even handle looking at her.
Yeah, and Father Moore, he was so determined to help her, even though he went through the entire exorcism and it failed.
Right.
And then she passed out and went into that coma where she then claims to have come into contact with Mother Mary.
Right.
And then the mother gave her the opportunity to leave the world and to end her suffering or go back so that she can prove to the world the power of the supernatural.
Yeah.
And take it out of science's hands. And she chose, like a saint, to stay just so that she could prove to the world for the kingdom of God that the supernatural really can take over
that is so
the human body.
And so strong. Like when they were reading that letter and I found that out, my heart,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it really hit me hard. I was like on the verge of tears.
Some of those scenes too, like all throughout the movie where it was showing when she began to go through the initial parts of becoming possessed.
Yeah.
And she was going
in
down
college.
the street and shit, walking through the storm, and she's seeing all their faces tweak out.
Yo. Or like when she was in class and she turned to look at the kid and he was just like, ah.
Yeah.
Like,
I look for any excuse to run out of a classroom. That would probably be the number one reason.
Right.
I'd be like, I gotta use the bathroom. Teacher, give me the hall pass. I've seen the actual pictures of the girl that the movie is based off of.
Yeah.
And the actual pictures are really frightening to look at too, because that girl looked beat up in real life.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people need to take away from this too, is that it was been around a real case. There was a girl who actually went through this hell, like a real life Emily Rose, and she laid there on her deathbed and went through the craziest amount of internal turmoil that a spirit could ever go through. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
No, me
I just
neither.
wouldn't. I don't think anybody should have to go through demonic activity, especially if they're not in search of it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
if you put yourself out there to it and you're trying to find it,
It's gonna
you
find you.
are doomed to find it. You're putting your own energy out there, and when it does come calling, nobody's gonna have remorse for you because you asked for it.
And yet, to be innocent and it happening to you is just a whole nother level of...
And that's why when it happens to people who are the innocent souls, they tend to be the ones that get taken over the most, because they had no knowledge.
Right.
Once it starts happening, they're
kind of
fucking engulfed with fear.
Yeah. And
so they're just feeding that entity even more and more, and then the power of that entity grows so much that they are able to take over that vessel and then shun that person's soul down elsewhere.
So the only way to prevent possession from happening to you is just not fearing it? Like, what if those symptoms started happening to you? Like, what would you do?
I would immediately contact some sort of church, but I would also pray over it constantly.
Right.
One of the biggest things that I utilize in any situation that has a demonic or a negative entity feeling in an environment is the prayer to Saint Michael.
Yeah.
I will use that. I'll search for that shit on YouTube and blare it out loud. And believe me, it has a profound effect to the atmosphere and can cut tension. It's something that, depending on how tense of an atmosphere that you're in truly is, that you can put it on repeat and then it will begin to subside some of that negative force that is in that area.
But only if you believe in it. That's the important part too.
Well, yeah.
Someone who doesn't believe in God and just plays that expecting it to go away won't have that much of an effect.
Well, not on the person, especially after they leave the area, but
so
wherever it is playing that sound, that prayer is far more powerful because of what it actually stands for.
I got a question for you. Have you known anybody who's been possessed personally, or have known of like an exorcism?
I've known people who have told me stories, and I'm not gonna put out people's names.
Oh no, yeah,
but I know certain individuals in my life that I've come across who understand that a negative energy took over their body, and they felt as if they were not in control, and they ended up lashing out at their loved ones.
Right.
And were battling these demons constantly. And sometimes when we allow our inner demon, and if you ever noticed, we've been told ever since day one that we always had to battle our demons. You have a good angel on one shoulder and a demon on the other, and you are far you are easily able to slip into anger because that is part of the demon that lies within.
Right. Because, like, I haven't had anyone.
I don't know anyone that was actually possessed.
Yeah.
Taken over fully.
Now,
but we all battle our demons.
Were they having, like, hallucinogenic symptoms like Emily Rose was having? Or was she just, like, to the point where there was no return, you know?
No, I think that's a completely different scenario. I think that is somebody that literally has a spirit that is invading into their just body itself and trying to take it over. That's almost like a virus. Just
like when she was in the church?
Oh my God, when she was bending backward.
And she was just like, help. Or at first she said, don't touch me. Yeah. She knew that she would probably hurt.
She was like bending backward, contorting to the point where her spine looked like it was snapping. And her brother, I think it was her brother, right?
No, I think it was a friend of hers, like kind of a boyfriend.
Okay. Because he was like, Emily, and then her head snaps off to the side super fast with her dark ass eyes like she was taken.
Yeah, that was the moment where she got 100% taken over, correct?
Well, I think she was in the process.
That was definitely a turning point.
But yeah. And then she hit the floor, and then she was begging him not to leave her.
Yeah, which he didn't.
And that was a recount by him. Like, wasn't he on
to the
trial?
Lawyer. No, he was just talking to the lawyer on like a park bench or something, or just walking in the park. And he was talking about his relationship with her and how he was with her while it was undergoing the possession.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be one of those individuals who has to watch somebody in their personal life get conflicted with the spirit realm and then taken over by a demonic possession. No way. Listen, I couldn't pretend to have to sleep in the same house as someone who was possessed. You're out of your goddamn mind if you don't think I'm at a fucking Hotel 6.
It's different if
it was
tomorrow. It's different if it was your partner or your child, though.
I don't know.
You would leave your child there, possessed.
See, you're throwing my children into it.
Well, obviously, I said it'd be different.
Yeah, and I also take it that this is why you see in some of these crazy ass fucking movies, it's like, mommy became possessed, so we bolt locked her in the fucking basement. We've been living off SpaghettiOs and Spam.
Yikes.
Yeah. And on a different little side note, the new Evil Dead movie coming out, that looks insane. The one where they're in like the hotel and the mom is locked up and the kids are like talking to her through the spyglass. What?
Yeah.
No. I need to see that.
And then we can do a recap on that.
I'm ready for that shit to drop. I don't even know if it's already out. I'm going to have to do some research. We going to find out.
Hell yeah.
Back to Emily Rose, though.
Yeah, back to that.
There were certain things that I never realized until rewatching the movie. Like in the beginning of the movie on the barbed wire, the blood dripping off of the barbed wire like she did. Just like the prosecutor was saying, how she ended up grabbing the barbed wire and cut herself on it. Like, it leaned more in favor of their argument right out of the gate.
Well, it also could have been an injury before that, so it could go either way. That's what's so good about the movie, though. They leave it up to you to just pick a side and kind of see both sides and be like, well, you know, it could have been either way. Like, there is no right or wrong. You don't know. And that's what the spiritual realm is. You can't prove it and you can't disprove it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but yeah, who knows? They didn't show anything other than that. And then later on, didn't she actually go up to it and put her hands on it like they showed that scene?
Well, they showed the scene with the prosecutor saying that the wounds on her hands could have been just her walking up and putting her hands on the barbed wire and grinding them into her own hands during her lost state of mind.
Yeah, because didn't that happen before she walked to the tree and, like, went to the ground?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought
necessarily,
it did,
but
regardless, I mean, a great portrayal of not leaning towards one side or the other, you know, showing evidence for both sides.
Now, if you were a juror and you had to make that overall assumption within your own mind, what would you think it would be? With all of the actual, not because of the fact that we are sitting here and talking about the movie and we get the fact that it's a horror movie, but if you were a real life juror and you heard both sides of these arguments, logically, where would you be in your own
I think at the beginning of the trial, I probably would have been with the prosecution side, only because most of the time, science does sort of overrule with situations like that. But, on the other hand, I am very spiritual myself, and I believe in that kind of stuff. So, if I were a juror, as the trial goes on, and I hear her story, and especially with hearing her recording, number one, two, her
that shit was fucked up.
That was nuts. And then the prosecution trying to say that she used both vocal cords. Like, come on, she's a 17-year-old kid, or however old she was. There's no way she could do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that being put as evidence, also the letter she wrote. I think that would have solidified in my mind that, well, hell yeah, this was real. She went through this.
Yeah.
The father was performing an exorcism, and it just so happened that it failed. And honestly, in my opinion,
yeah,
I do think that the medication probably made it worse, because it was messing with the chemicals in her brain, and it wasn't helping her stay strong. It was just putting her in a weaker state. I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of evidence.
What is really, really crazy to me is how on earth in real life does this priest get put on trial, but not the parents who gave consent for them to not give the drugs to the child any longer? Wouldn't that be more the parents' decision, and the parents should go to court for allowing their child to die?
That is a good point. I mean, yeah, but I think it was, he was in the last moments of her life.
They gave him permission to take their daughter's life and try to use a different means of healing because all else was failing. It was the parents and Emily's decision.
But the parents didn't kill her. It was their just decision. That doesn't mean that they killed her. It was the priest who killed her, because he was the one who performed that. It's like if the medication, they gave the okay for the medication to go to her, and the medication killed her. It wouldn't be the parents' fault. It would be the medication in the pharmacy.
I understand, but she didn't die during the exorcism. She died after it failed. So she died from prolonged periods, supposedly, of not being under this medical care. And the parents decided to just leave it up to fate. Leave it up to faith. They were even on trial and they said that. So she died after the exorcism when the father left. He kept coming back to watch over her state, and she just kept declining. and then she died. So it was more of the parents.
Because if it was flipped and it was medication and doctors and they did all of that, they put their faith in medication and doctors, then it failed and she died. It's not their fault that she died.
Would those doctors be on trial for murder?
Well, it's different because it's medication and doctors and pharmacy. That is the whole controversy, though.
But it's really not in my eyes. Luckily, we're allowed to disagree over here.
We'll agree to disagree. But either way, it happened, so...
If anything, it shows the power of that kind of a trial.
Exactly.
It shows that there can be these different ways of looking at a situation like that, regardless of what the outcome was. Now, in the movie, he was guilty, but the jury decided that they would at least put it out to the judge that they thought that he already served his time in jail while they were going through the trial, and then the judge accepted it. So it was like a win-win scenario, both for the prosecution and for the defendant.
Yeah.
And then I think what was super cool was at the end of it when her boss, who was a dickhead through the entire fucking movie, and I wanted to punch him.
Right?
He was like, "Oh, you did it. We knew you would," kind of a feel.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Fuck you. Later. See you later. I'm done." Just backed away from everything that, in the beginning, before she was looking at things in a faithful type of way, she was all about just wanting to get to the top of that corporation, and now after going through all of that spiritual battle within her own life, she couldn't even pretend to take that position.
Yeah.
So,
it messed with her mind, that's for sure.
Now, I have the question for you. What would you rate this movie? From a 1 to 10 star rating. And be honest.
8.5.
Whoa. So you have this well over your rating from the last movie,
The Exorcist? Way over.
Okay.
Way better. You had The Exorcist at 8, so what would you rate this one?
Truthfully, an 8.5.
As well. Wow.
So I went up a half a notch. You jumped up 2.5 points.
Yeah.
God damn.
It was way more entertaining, more grabbing. The suspense was just through the roof. The acting, the filmography, the score. I mean, everything about it was just way better than The Exorcist.
And
in my opinion.
I love the fact that this movie was like overlooked initially when it first came out.
True that.
And then it became a staple of kind of a cult classic after the fact, because people started going back and watching this movie after it released on DVD.
Right.
Because it was not that big of a deal when it initially came out in the theater. So that's a good rating, though. I think 8.5 is solid.
Definitely solid. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Now, I think I kind of want to climb out of the whole exorcism and exorcist type of feels, and I want to move on to more demonic type of entities, but in a different sense.
Right, not possession.
No, demons attacking people.
Right.
Spiritually, but mentally more so, feeding off of their mental state and then killing them.
Right.
Ultimately, disappearances. So,
what are you thinking?
I want to harp on the remake, and you're all about remakes.
Oh yeah,
You
Evil
love
Dead
remakes.
remake.
Okay. Stephen King's It.
Ooh, the first or the second?
Well,
I mean, I've seen the first.
How about, okay, if you've seen the first, we will watch the second, and then we will do both.
Yeah, we'll talk about them both.
We'll tie them both together.
Because, I mean, it's a series. Oh, I'm so down. The first one was great.
Fucking A. I'm down.
But yeah. Oh!
Okay.
That's something to look forward to.
Yes, ma'am. And with that being said, for everyone else who's out there listening, I hope you have your comforters wrapped around you tonight as you go to bed, and you stay safe, sleep well, and keep your wits about you.